Hey everyone, it's Rebecca here. Thanks so much for joining me for another Sims 4 speed build. In today's video, I am building in Ravenwood, and it is spooky season, and this is going to be the first of 4 videos that I've planned for October. And in this video, I am building a Grim Reaper's Manor, and I don't remember what the name of this neighborhood is called, but as you can see, it is the one with the creepy supernatural lighting. And I've never built in this part of the world before, so I was excited to do something a little bit creepy with some different color schemes that I haven't done before, using some items that I haven't used before. And even though this ends up being what I call the Grim Reaper's Manor, I didn't really know who I was building for at first. I just kind of wanted to work with the general shape that I had in mind and use some of these items, like these windows that I just put down that I hadn't used before. And at first I was planning on building a home that was not maintained. So a much older home that had these cracked windows and old doors, maybe like, cobwebs and, mold and stuff on the inside. But as I was working on this home and I started thinking about who was living here, I decided that this was going to be maintained and it was going to be currently lived in. And the idea that I had as I was working through the build was maybe for a Grim Reaper who has been doing the job for a while, maybe a couple of 100 years. And I thought maybe she was living in her old family home and she has been maintaining it, living by herself for a really long time. And I thought, who would be living in a place like this who maybe wasn't planning on being a Grim Reaper or was left all by herself. And I thought, as I started making the home a little bit fancier and a little bit better maintained, I imagined that maybe her family was aristocratic or maybe worked in politics, and maybe they worked with like the Grim Reapers Association or had like political Ravenwood ties or something along those lines. And that she was left alone in the home because she was maybe the last of her bloodline. So yeah, as I start putting down the floors and the wallpapers, it starts becoming a lot fancier than I originally planned. So even though I put down the swatches with the broken glass and dirty windows, I do change up most of them to be, non-broken glass and things like that. So that's kind of what I had in mind for the person that lives here. It does end up being a 2-bedroom home, so there are 2 bedrooms with en-suites, but there is very clearly like a primary suite that takes up half of the second floor. And you can see here that I am making the home a little bit bigger. And I do also move this over to a bigger lot in this neighborhood as I wanted to add a little something special to the side of the house, so we'll get to that in just a little bit. But the layout is pretty simple. There's a hallway that runs from the front to the back. In the entryway, we have this nice double-story entrance with a large chandelier. I also add a piano near the end of the video, just to add a little bit more grandness to the place. As you can see, I'm using the same Get Famous tiles to create the checker pattern that I have been doing for a lot of my builds lately. I did this in my vampire build that I did a couple of weeks ago, and I'm using this for another build that will be posted later on in the month as well. I just think it looks really cool and custom, so you'll be seeing that technique from me till the end of time. But also on the first floor, there's going to be like a parlor, which I guess is kind of like the living room area. There's going to be a small office, and that's just for like reading, so it's kind of more of a library. There's a formal dining room, a separate kitchen, and then there's also a powder room and a butler's pantry. And then on the second floor, we will have the primary suite that has a walk-through closet and an ensuite. There's also a second bedroom which has an ensuite but doesn't have a walk-in closet. There's also an office on that floor and an entryway to both of the balconies. And then there's finally an attic, which has roof access as well. And in the attic, we have what I would consider the Grim Reaper's favorite private study that is far away from the house and maybe has some more of her personal items. And that's kind of the place that she prefers to do her work rather than her formal office. And now we've moved on to the bigger lot here. So you can see this is where I've placed the graveyard. This is going to be what I imagine is her family graveyard. So like I said, I imagine that she lives by herself, and it's probably been a couple of 100 years since she, I don't know, died or became a ghost or entered the Grim Reaper career and gained immortality somehow or another. And that's going to be where her family is buried, and I can imagine that she spends a lot of time out here reflecting. I was really happy with how this graveyard turned out. There's going to be some really nice cozy lighting that I add a little bit later, and there will be a couple of areas too for sitting outside and enjoying the beautiful, creepy lighting of this world. And you can more or less see the color scheme that I am coming up with here. I originally had these like archway coverings. I don't really know what they are. They're in the wall decor section. They're not technically curtains, but I use the swatch with the red on them. I do dull that down a little bit, but there is going to be quite a bit of red throughout this home. So I really like that. It was just a little bit too much to have the red drapery on all of the walls, so I don't use them. I changed it over to the black swatch instead, but there will be pops of red all throughout the first 2 floors. And then I decided that the private office in the attic is going to be purple. And when I was thinking about that, I thought maybe like the official color of the family, or maybe the colors they use to like showcase their like aristocratic roots, or maybe their allegiances or something, would be red. But there might be some significance to the color purple, which is why she keeps it in like her private attic office or something like that. Anyway, that's what I had in mind. Here I'm putting down the kitchen. You might see that there is black all throughout the house. In the corners of the screen here. For a little bit, I thought about making this color scheme very dark and monotonous. But when I took a break and came back the next day to the build, I wasn't really liking how it looked. So I went back to the really warm color scheme that I originally intended. And then in a couple of weeks, we will have a build that is going to be pretty much all dark, and that one is going to look very cool. But I do keep the kitchen black. This is also, I spent barely any time in this kitchen. It is very large and has a lot of room for a lot of things, but I didn't really clutter it with that many appliances. I put a dishwasher in the butler's pantry, which is right next to the kitchen, but I still wanted the kitchen to look old-timey. So I didn't want to put too many like modern appliances in there, but it is a very sizable kitchen. I did consider going like the really classic route and putting the kitchen in a basement where like the servants would have made the food, but I just didn't feel like creating a basement floor. And I also, whenever I think about doing that, I also think about like how the playability would be for a person actually playing in this house. And if you weren't playing that kind of gameplay, it would probably be really annoying to have your Sims needing to go down to the basement to make their food and having to bring it upstairs. So that's the other reason that I didn't do that. But it would definitely be possible to find a space to put some stairs down into a basement if you wanted to make this a little bit more like aristocratic or something along those lines. But yeah, also I apologize. There is construction happening outside my window, so I will do my best to get the noise out of the recording, but it's just, I don't know if it'll actually stop before, I want to record, so I decided just to get it over with. But you could see that a couple seconds ago, I was working on the library downstairs. And then up here, this is like the formal office. So this will have, as always, the book nook kit, books stacked all over the place. It has these really beautiful bookshelves that we got from Life and Death. I really like that they went out of their way to create 2 swatches so that you could line bookcases up side by side and not have them be too repetitive. And my original plan was to have like a secret door to the attic. So I was using that unlockable bookcase door that came with the base game, but it's just too flat. And ever since we got that Bella Goth kit that had the same bookcase door, that one is just like so much more solid and fits in nicely with the corresponding bookcase that is supposed to be hidden in. So it's just a little bit too flat on the wall. So I just made a normal door to the attic area, and it'll just be a matter of knowing where to go to get up to the attic instead of it being like too much of a secret. And here on the screen, we've got the bathroom. The most modern thing about this home is this double shower head area that I created. I really wasn't thinking. This was just me on autopilot. So it might not really fit the rest of the story that I had going for this house. Why on earth would this woman have remodeled her bathroom to have a modern double shower head in her bathroom? I don't know. But she did. You can always change that if it bothers you. And this is the walk-through closet, and I loved this color scheme that I originally put down. It's like the green mudroom kit cabinets with the green wallpaper from Life and Death. And I am definitely going to use it for some other build, maybe like a fancy Parisian apartment or something like that. But the colors just weren't right for the color scheme that I was going for. And I thought the green just stuck out a little bit too much. I didn't really have any other like parts of the home that had that green wallpaper either. So I just toned it down. The black still fits very nicely with the wood paneling that I have in the walk-through closet. So I kept it there. It still looks really cool and fancy. So I'm pretty happy with that feature here. I also added a small fireplace into the bedroom. The bedroom, I struggled with the color scheme quite a bit, and if you download this from the gallery or from the tray files, which will be linked in the description, the color scheme might be a little bit different than what you see in the video and in the screenshots, because when I kept going back to this house to take screenshots and to playtest it, I kept changing the swatches because I couldn't decide what looked the best, and I just couldn't make up my mind. Even when I was going back and watching or editing the footage for this video, I was like, oh, I really like the color that I originally put down, and then I changed it, and so I couldn't really decide, but I did kind of like the orangey color that I think I ended up with. And here I am putting the piano in the hallway that runs from the front to the back, and I'm just extending this entryway here to give it a little bit more room. And I really like that, you know, if someone was playing in here, you could hear it in the living room, you could sit upstairs on the landing and listen to it as well. I don't really know what the function of that would be and why it would sit in that hallway instead of in the living room, but you know, it looks cool, and that's way more important. Here I'm adding some vines to the side of the house. I really enjoyed using the red swatch that we got, and these are from the Vampires pack, so I definitely used items from that pack in this build as well. And I hardly ever use the really dried out vines, which I'm adding now to kind of add a little bit more texture to the wall. I don't think I've used those in a build before, but they are really pretty, especially in the red swatch, which fits the red vines really nicely. And I'm also using the low-lying ferns from the Vampires pack, as well as the dried out bushes. So using a lot from that pack, and it fits really nicely in this part of the world as well. I've also pulled out items from live edits, so the trees out front as well as the dead trees around the lot. Those are from the live edit, and there are quite a few other really cool plants that are around the world. So these purple bushes here, I'm just doing that to blend it into the world. And then there's these crazy orange trees that we add a little bit later. Those are around the world as well, and they definitely add to the Halloween of it all. So I'll add those in just a little bit. And then I decided to go for these super dead, dried out bushes on the side of the house. And then I add slightly more lively bushes outside of the fencing. And I don't know how I feel about that now. I think maybe I should have gone for the less dead bushes next to the house. But I don't know. You tell me. I'm not quite sure. I couldn't decide if I wanted things to be really dead outside or if I did want there to be like a little bit of lushness to it. Here are the orange trees that I was talking about that are scattered throughout this part of the world. They're really intense. I really like them. And I like that there is a bit of a Halloween color scheme. You've got these purpley plants and the orange plants, so that is very much on the theme. I'm definitely feeling the fall here. And here are the more green bushes that I was talking about. These are, of course, our favorite live edit objects from Get Together. So like I said, I think maybe I should have put those around the house as well, but I don't know. I really couldn't decide. There's a lot of parts of this house where I just couldn't decide which direction I wanted to go in or which colors I wanted to use. I also, speaking of color, went for a like peachy orange lighting outside to match the lighting that is in the world as well. It does appear to be the same lighting that is used in the Willow Creek. I think maybe in both the residential and in the more commercial parts of Willow Creek, but they have this really pretty peachy lighting, and I really like changing the outdoor lights to match those. It makes it feel really atmospheric and really moody, so I'm definitely a fan of that. But it's been really fun to build kind of more fall themed, more spooky themed things, and I can't wait to work on the other builds that I have planned for the rest of the month. I'm not a big Halloween person. I do love fall. I think I like the idea of Halloween. Like, I love the color scheme of Halloween, and I love like the costumes and like the decorations that come with it. But I've never really been a big fan of the actual day itself. It's like I like this season more than I like the actual day. As a kid, I definitely liked it. And it was new to me as a kid because my family moved to the US and I was 8 years old when I had my first Halloween experience. So that was very new and exciting. But even then, like growing up, it wasn't like the holiday that I look forward to the most, but I do enjoy the aesthetics of it. So here you can see these are the Book Nook kit books that I was talking about. It wouldn't be a library or an office in an occult build without these. I think they just make it feel so storied and full, and I guess like every occult that I build for loves reading. It's like, what did they do before they had TVs? They were just reading. So you have to have a full library, obviously, especially if you've got a Manor, which I keep building as well. The living room that we can see on the screen here, I did not spend a lot of time in that room either. I think it's very uncomplicated, and every time I went back to it, I was like, there's something missing, and there's something not quite right. I think because there's just like, there's nothing to do in there. And it's a little bit narrow too, so it's hard to fit any additional seating. And I couldn't fit like any instruments in there or anything like that. So it's definitely a parlor. It's very much just a room for talking and sitting around. But that's okay in The Sims 2. That's totally fine. On screen here, this is the second bedroom. And actually, when I was playtesting this, I did put the I think it's the Gomez family that comes with Life and Death, and they are ghost roommates. And I thought, you know, if you are placing this in the world and you just want to make some, or you want to place some pre-made townies, I think they could fit pretty well in here because they can each have their own bedroom with an ensuite. So they don't have to fight over a bathroom. So that might be a good family to move in here. This might even have been the lot that they lived on. I'm not sure because I built this in my save file that I'm working on, and I evicted pretty much all the families. So I have no idea who lived where. This is the attic bathroom, and it's very different from the rest of the bathrooms in the house. And I thought maybe since this is where the Grim Reaper likes spending all of her time, this is like her favorite bathroom for relaxing. Like there's no windows. It's just like very much a cocoon, and this was probably added at a very different time than the rest of the bathroom, so it's got a very different color scheme. And here is the purple private office, and it's got I do add some like damage to the walls, so this one's probably also a little bit older, but as you can see, she's got purple everywhere. And yeah, I think that this might be, maybe that's her favorite color, or maybe this signifies like a time in her family's history when they had like maybe different politics or different ideals or something like that. There's definitely something to it. But I liked making this like very, very cozy and very lived in. And I don't imagine that like she has anyone come in here. This is like for her to do her concentrating. And maybe this is like her actual favorite place to read and do her work. There is a computer in here because Sims can't live without a computer. I think I just placed down the one from that you unlock with the Oracle career, and I think it's like a suitcase thing. I thought it might make sense if that's like something that the Grim Reaper would do too, you know, pack up their suitcase computer. But that'll be it for the build. I've rambled a lot. This is a lot shorter than I thought, but I really hope that you liked watching this video, and I can't wait to hear what you think about it. If you place this lot down, have lots of fun playing in it, and I will see you all next week with my next Halloween themed build. Bye-bye!